Good morning again. Good morning to all of you who may be just joining us this morning online. Great to have you in worship with us this morning. I just want to say I wish more of our readers would take seriously coordinating with the pastor on a Sunday morning like Lori did this morning. Did you see that? Gray and black, both? Yeah, I know. That's dedication right there. Dedication. Just telling you. All right, we have come to our final week and talking about our new vision statement. We launched our vision statement back in September, and you all have it memorized, right? Yeah. Don't lie in church. All right, one more time. Here we go. We join with God in creating a movement of Christ followers where everybody is somebody. I wish everybody would just get the somebody part. All right, so what does that mean? We talked about that for a while. We broke it down first. We talked about what it means to join with God. We join with God because God is already at work in our community. God has already worked here at Messiah. That's why here is holy. This place is holy. And so we join with God in what God is already up to in creating a movement of Christ followers. We're not interested in building church. We're interested in creating a movement of people who are followers of Jesus Christ. There's a big difference between that and building church, right? And so that gets us to think about church differently. But the ecclesia, the early church, was a movement of Christ followers, all right, who were following Jesus each and every day. There wasn't a place for them to go. Right? There were just a movement of people who believed that Jesus was the Messiah. And we're trying to create that space where everybody is somebody. So when we mean everybody is somebody, we mean everybody is welcome here. All right? And a lot of churches can say everybody's welcome, but a lot of times that just means you're welcome to come and sit. All right? That's not actually affirming who they are. And if everybody was somebody to Jesus, if everybody was accepted and loved like they were loved by Jesus, that means that we are called to do the same thing. All right, that everybody who walks through those doors, we are to love them and affirm them exactly for who they are, as Christ did as well. All right, and so then we had our memory verse for our entire time, which is from the book of Proverbs that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. All right, our vision is where we want to go. Creating a movement of Christ followers where everybody is somebody. That's where we hope to be. That is our goal in mind. That is the type of place we want to create in the future. And vision is so important. Vision is important for organizations because if you don't have a vision, you don't know the direction you're going. And if you don't have vision, you're going to have a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of things, but they don't know why they're doing it. And they're going to be doing many different things, and they're not all going to be swimming in the same direction. Okay? So vision helps bring focus to that and gives direction to it. And so after we looked at our vision statement, after we broke it down over a couple of weeks, we said, okay, well, where is a safe place for us to start with this then? Because we have to start somewhere. So where's a great place for us to start? And thinking about church differently, thinking about a movement of people rather than a place to go, thinking about creating a space where everybody is somebody, those things can be scary for us. Because we've all had a vision of what church is in our minds for so long. And that's been built up over time. And so it might be hard to deconstruct that. It might be hard to create a space where everybody is somebody because we have our own stuff inside of us that prevents us from doing that. So those can be scary places to start. So where is a safe place to start? And I said a very safe place for all of us to start is in prayer. Because it will take all of us praying about all of that in order for that to happen. And you can tell whether an organization has strayed by whether or not it is prayed, by how it prays. Okay? And so the people, it will take all of us praying about all of it in order to go. So that's a safe place for all of us to start. And as we start, then we take that first step. All right? We take that first step. And as we take our first step, then we have to focus on working on our core. And our core that we talked about was our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Right? That's our core. That's our spiritual core. Jesus was asked, out of all the commandments, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and love others as God has loved you. And of all 613, they all come down to those two. And those two are actually one because you can't have one without the other. You can't love God and not love other people. Okay? And so Jesus says, that is what it is about. And so that's our how. How do we get there? That's our how. Where we're going, creating a movement of Christ followers where everybody is somebody. How do we get there is doing just that. Loving God, loving others, becoming better disciples every day. That's how we get there. And so that is our spiritual core. And so then last week, I gave you one of the first ingredients of how we can then be successful in making sure that we get there. And one of the first ingredients to being successful in reaching and achieving our vision is that we have to be willing to take risks. We have to be willing to get out of the boat like Peter got out of the boat. Last week we talked about Peter getting out of the boat and walking on water. And as Peter's out there walking on water, all of a sudden he starts sinking because of the enormity of the storm around him. And that's when a lot of us want to go back into the boat. Right? And Jesus reaches down and he pulls him up and he says, "You of little faith, why did you doubt me?" And we talked about how it wasn't Peter's lack of faith in Jesus, but that was Peter's lack of faith in himself. Because when a first century rabbi called you to be his disciple, he believed that you could be like him. And so Jesus was saying, why did you doubt me? Why did you doubt that I believed in you? Jesus believes in us. Jesus believes that we can do this. But do we have enough faith in ourselves as well? And so that's going to take risks. And with risks comes the risk of actually failing sometimes. And that's okay. Because all of us learned how to ride a bike by failing. That's how you learn how to ride a bike. You get on, you try, you fail when you fall, you learn from that, and then you adjust. And you get back on. And so along the way, we're going to have times where we're going to fail. But we're going to learn from those things, we're going to adjust, and then we're going to try again. And sometimes we may try it once. We may just take it out for a test drive. Right? And if it doesn't work, we'll park it. But we have to be willing to take risk, and we have to be willing to fail along the way if we're going to reach and be successful and faithful in reaching our vision. So today I'm going to give you the second and final ingredient of how we can be successful and be faithful in accomplishing our vision statement, and that is divine focus. There's a difference between focus and divine focus. All right? Now, out of all the things that we've talked about, this is the hardest for me. All right? I mean, I have ADHD. Eek. Right? You can ask my wife. There's like 15 different projects that I've started that I didn't finish around the house. Because I got distracted and I went and started something else and then I didn't get back to the other thing. So this is the hardest for me. All right? Ask my staff, okay? The staff will tell you. That sometimes I get a little distracted, all right? But it's going to take divine focus. And I want to start our conversation about divine focus by showing you 10 years ago what the menu of In-N-Out Burger looked like. So my first time at an In-N-Out Burger was in San Diego around about 2011. Okay? And I went in and they had this sign. It says, ordering is as easy as 1, 2, 3. This was my only options. I could get a double-double with french fries and a medium drink. I could get a cheeseburger with fries and a medium drink. Or I could get a hamburger with fries and a medium drink. That's all I could get. That's all I could order. That was it. Ordering is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now, there are some cultish fans out there for In-N-Out Burger. All right? But I'm going to tell you right now, this chain is very profitable. Okay? And so there I was out in San Diego, and that was at the point where I didn't know there wasn't Whataburger outside of the state of Texas. I'm going, what? What's going on? So I was just like, okay, well, I'll give this place a whirl. And I went and I said, wait, that's all I can get? Because what can you get at Whataburger? You can get burgers, you can get salads, you can get chicken strips, you can get all sorts of stuff at Whataburger. Now you can even get like burgers that will actually put you into cardiac arrest. Like, I got that chili cheese thing with the Fritos in it the other day. I swear to God, I needed to have a defibrillator right next to me as I was eating that thing. I thought it was going to drop at any moment by eating that sucker. It was crazy. All right? Now, you would think, all right, times have changed. All right, that's fine. You have to expand. They've expanded their restaurants. But over a decade later, they have not expanded their menu. You still go in and you still can only get a double, a cheeseburger, or a hamburger. You can kind of like, mess with your burger a little bit. You know, like no onions, no tomatoes, no lettuce, all of that sort of stuff. You can kind of customize your burger, but that's it. This is all you can order in terms of food. All right? That's why they're so profitable, because they have a divine focus. They have focused solely on the hamburger. 3 choices. Focusing only a few things instead of many things is not only helpful for an organization like In-N-Out Burger, it's also helpful for churches, and it's also helpful for us as individuals as well. Because let's face it, how many of us feel like we are meeting ourselves at the door some days? Yeah, exactly. Now, how many of you, I want to ask this question, how many of you feel you're great at multitasking? All right? A lot of us think that we're great at multitasking, right? I try to multitask all the time, right? I've got things going on all over the place. Again, ADHD brain, okay? All right? But I think I am great at multitasking. But the truth of the matter is that very few of us are actually good at it. And you know why? Because the science proves that we're actually not good at it. A study by the attention expert David Strayer found that only 2% of the population are actually good at this. 98% are not. So chances are you fall in the 98% rather than the 2%. And we all like to believe that we fall in the 2%, when in all actuality we fall in the 98%. Why is multitasking so hard? Why are we not good at it? Because when you multitask, your energy is split between more than one task. If your energy is split between more than one task, can you give that task all of your time and attention? Absolutely not, because you've just split it, right? Companies are actually finding this out. Companies are actually finding out that if they give their employees one task at a time to accomplish, they get 32% more done throughout the week. 32% more. Just by eliminating multitasking. Just by giving them one thing to focus on at a time. Because here's the thing, we think we're getting more done, but we're not. Multitasking also creates stress and anxiety. And also, the quality of work suffers. We actually will accomplish more when we monotask, meaning one thing at a time. All right? Work on a single thing at a time. Because this method allows you to put all of your time, all of your energy, all of your attention into one single thing. And as business consultant Nito Quibben once said, nothing can add more power to your life than concentrating all of your energies on a limited set of targets. Archery has taught us this. If you have multiple targets that you're trying to hit, are you going to hit all of them? No. You have to take it one target at a time, don't you? Ministries that grow, ministries that are successful in their vision, do a few things, wait for it, as if all eternity hinged upon those few things. Ministries that grow and that are successful in their vision do only a few things, as if all of eternity hinged on those few things. They do a few things, and they do them with godly excellence. You can't do anything excellently if your energies are being divided. One of the values that I had from the very beginning when I first came here 13 years ago was that, and you can ask any of the staff, we were going to do things with excellence. Because I was tired of hearing it was good enough for the church. Good enough does not bring glory to God. Excellence honors God, and it inspires other people to want to be a part of what you're doing. Excellence honors God and inspires people. That's the value. It's not perfection, does not mean perfection. Excellence and perfection are two totally different things. But we were going to do things with excellence. And vision done with excellence is characterized by three things: specificity, selectivity, and exclusivity. Big words. I had to practice saying that like so many times yesterday, it wasn't a bit funny. Especially specificity. Right? Be specific about the things that you are trying to accomplish. Be selective about the things that you want to do. And exclusively devote your resources and attention to them. Warren Buffett once said the difference between successful people and the really successful people is that the really successful people say no to almost everything. You have to be selective in what you say yes to. You have to be selective in what you say yes to. And I've said it from the very beginning since I've gotten here. Just because we can do everything does not necessarily mean we should do everything. Rather than doing lots of things halfway, I would rather us choose a few things, focus our energies, focus our resources, focus our people on those few things and do them with excellence. So in our text for today, we have a woman by the name of Martha. Now, Martha and Mary would go on and they would become good friends of Jesus, especially their brother Lazarus, one of Jesus' best friends, outside of his disciples. All right? And so Martha and Mary invite Jesus over to their house. They're hosting him. And Martha, it says, was overwhelmed by the responsibilities of hosting Jesus. Right? And when she was doing everything she possibly could, her sister Mary simply just sat there at Jesus' feet and was just listening to him. She was doing all the work. Mary wasn't doing anything but sitting there talking to Jesus. So finally, at one point, Martha has had enough. And she goes up, not to talk to Mary, but to complain to Mary, about Mary to Jesus. Triangulation at its finest. Right? And she instructs Jesus. She says, I need you to tell my sister to get up and come help me. Jesus is like, well, she's right there. No, he doesn't say that. She's right here. Jesus has an interesting response. He says this. He says, you are worried about many things, but few things are needed. Or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Now, I don't think that Mary gets in trouble for serving Jesus. I think the heart of this matter is two words: many things. Many things. Because I don't know about you. By the way, I think Martha gets a bad rap in this story. And the way it's been preached a lot, I think Martha gets a bad rap. Because here's the deal. We need servants. Okay? We need servants. Just like we're saint and sinner at the same time, I think we need to be Marys and Marthas at the same time. Focused on Jesus, serving at the same time. We have to be both. Okay? And if I'm watching this play out on my television screen, I just know that Martha's in the right here. I'm looking at her, I'm like, man, she's got a servant's heart. She's busy making sure everything's right for Jesus. Right? She's trying to meet everybody's needs. She's going around. She's pouring her heart and soul into it. Man, what a servant. What is so wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And by the way, isn't that what we should be doing as churches? Aren't we supposed to be the ones who are out there serving? Aren't we the ones who are out there trying to get and serve everybody's needs? There's the question. Everybody's needs. That's not focus. See, I first got this concept about 8 years ago. When I started my nonprofit, Acts of Wisdom, when we started working with schools in Ethiopia, I literally wanted to help all those kids. I wanted to help all of them. And one of my board members, who was one of the first to come on my board, went with me so that he could understand what it was that we were trying to do. He looked at me and he says, Brad, you can't help them all. I said, what do you mean you can't help them all? I can help them all. He's like, no, you can't help them all. He said, you're going to have to focus on one thing and start with that. And so I came back home and I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And so I went to a conference that we usually go to as a staff. It's called the Catalyst Conference in Atlanta. And Andy Stanley was the first one to get up and speak. I really admire Andy. I have admired his leadership for a long time. And Andy gets up, and guess what he talks about? He talks about service. And he talks about trying to meet the needs of all the people that are out there and trying to meet all the needs of everybody that's out there. And he says, look, there's a lot of needs. There's a lot of people who are in need. And sometimes that can get overwhelming. And then he said this phrase. So here's what you need to do. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the amount of people who need help, do for one what you wish you could do for many. And it clicked for me. Do for one what you wish you could do for many. So I came back home and I said, okay, so I redrew our goals. And I said, we're going to start with one school. Right? We're going to start with one school. And once that school has all the materials they need, then we will move on to the next school. But until those goals are met, we will stick with that one school no matter how many schools ask us. We'll say, we'll get you on the list. We'll get to you. We're focusing on one school first. Because if I would have divided my energies up between all of those schools that were in need, we would only get a few things done. And we would still be trying to reach our goals. So instead of, get this, instead of starting off at $100,000 for 6 schools, which was what I had, I said, we're going to start with one school and we're going to try to raise $3,000 our first year as an organization. $3,000 will help 900 students get all of the books, all of the materials they need. It will supply our teachers with all the teaching supplies that they need. And it will help start this school off right. We raised 6. But now if I would have done that and I would have divided my energies among that, that would have never have happened. And so to this day, we stick with one school, and then once that school's goal is accomplished, then we move on to the next school. Now, it does not mean we abandon that school. Believe me, there's a lot of nonprofits that do that, which is why there's so many schools that are sitting empty in the world today. They go, they build, they say, hey, look what we did. We built our school that all of our donors gave for, and then they leave. And they don't do anything to put anything into the schools to make them run in the first place. It does not mean that we neglect them. When needs come up, we help them, right? We don't abandon them. We continue to check in. We continue to evolve that school. But we always put our focus on one school at a time. Because there's an old Italian proverb that goes like this. Often the person who does too much does too little. And too many ministries out there are doing too little by doing too much. I mean, you can just go to some of these churches' websites, and there's a drop-down menu list like this. And it's like, where do I start? Believe me, there are pastors out there that boast about how many ministries they have. I remember said conference, sitting in the pastor's lounge. Pastor was like, we have 187 ministries. And he was proud of it. And I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, we have 187 ministries. I said, how many people do you have? He said, oh, we have about 400. I was like, okay, that's about how many we have in Messiah. I was like, how many staff do you have? 8. I was like, that's about how many we have in Messiah. 100. Can you imagine 187 ministries? If we had that here? And so I was looking at him and I was like, okay, is he asking for applause or is he asking for prayer? Because I was about to pray for him right then and there, because I was like, there is no way you're doing anything with excellence. And I don't even know if you see your family with 187 ministries going on. It was just insane. So a couple weeks ago, I asked our staff, as part of our study for this, I said, if we could only do one thing that would make a huge impact in our community, what's the one thing that we would do? and only one thing. Yeah, it was really hard. I want you to wrestle with that this week. We can only do one thing. What's that one thing that will make a huge impact in our community? Tough decision. It's tough to think about because there's a lot of good ideas out there. The question is, how many God ideas are out there? Because there's a difference between a good idea and a God idea. And in the life cycle of a church, there are thousands of good ideas. There are very few God ideas. In your life, what are the good ideas? What are the God ideas? Because I think this principle can also apply to our personal lives, by the way. This isn't just for organizations. This is also for ours, right? Like I said, I think there's a lot of us who are meeting ourselves at the door. Right? What are the things that you need to say no to in your life? Hey, it's November. Let's put the no back into November. It's November, right? Let's take an account of the things that we're doing. What are some things that we need to say no to so that we can invest more of our time, energy, resources, mental capacity, love, care, attention to the things that really matter? As we move forward in living our vision, we are going to have to say no to some things. We will grow not by our yeses, but by our nos. As I was reading the Steve Jobs biography, there's this one point, and Steve Jobs talks about it. He says, you know, I am actually I am sometimes more proud of the things that we haven't done rather than the things that we have done. He said, because here's the deal. Innovation is a lot of times saying yes to one thing and no to 1,000 things. As we move into our vision, what are the things that we will need to say no to? That don't contribute directly to our vision in a high impact way. Believe me, we'll try to find loopholes, right? So I'm going to ask you, how does that help us carry out our vision? To create a movement of Christ followers where everybody is somebody. You're going to try to find a way to make it happen. But just remember, that means taking time, energy, resources, and people from other things in order to do that thing. Whatever we do, our vision must stay central. It has to stay central. And we have to have a divine, God-like focus on our vision to ensure that we live into the preferred future that God has for us in this place to live out that vision. Most of us don't realize the giant capacity that we can immediately command when we just focus all of our resources on mastering that one thing. So may our one thing be a divine focus on accomplishing our mission, saying yes to a few things and no to a lot of things. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's stand and sing our next song, shall we?
The more I seek you, the more I find you. The more I find you, the more I love you. I wanna sit at your feet hand. I melt in your peace. It's overwhelming. The more I seek you, the more I find you. The more I find you, the more I love you. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hands, lay back against you and breathe. Feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe. Feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe. Feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming.